Hello, lovely people. Welcome to another episode of the Devrel Show. Uh, Always super happy to do that show. I do that. I try to do it every 2 weeks, and this is episode number 24, if I'm not wrong. And yeah, just happy to be here. I'm the host of the show. If you don't know me, I'm Frederick Harper. I'm a developer advocate, and I just thought at some point that, like, yeah, we do a lot of conferences. We talked a lot as developer advocate, but like having a show that is specifically about DevRel is something that I was personally missing, and it was a little bit selfish too, doing that show because, like, just like meeting like other great developer advocates or people that are in a developer relations function. So yeah, I always define that show with friends, like guests on the show. I really define the show as like two friends talking about DevRel. Sometimes it's old friends, sometimes it's new friend. Like my guest today, we don't know each other in person. I think it's even the first time we basically like talk together. But you know what? We're already friends, so I think that's gonna be good. Just a quick note. I'm at the end of a cold. I don't know what's happening to me this year. I get sick all the time. Now it's a cold. It's not the flu, at least, but you may see me turn around once in a while to blow my nose, or I'm gonna try to mute my mic to cough. But that's just the life. And right now I have a cough drop to help me go through the show. But that show, even if my name is in it, it's not about me. It's all about the guests. So obviously, I'm going to talk, but I always try to leave the floor as much as possible to your guests. And with that said, I'm really happy I have Philip with me. Philip, how is life?
Fred, I'm also sick recently, sick and tired of all these bugs in my code. But I think I got
Oh,
out, and we're gonna have a great show today.
I love that. I love that. So, Philip, for the people that do not know you, who are you? Tell me more about yourself.
So, hi everyone. My name is Philip Kiely. I'm a developer advocate looking at Baseten. Baseten is a model influence platform. I've been with the company for a little over 2.5 years. I'm based in Chicago, and I have been in the industry for about 4 or 5 years now. Started as a technical writer and kind of grew into DevRel functions along with the company that I work for. And I saw that Sam, who's a DevRel I know from Writer, had done this show, and it looked like a lot of fun. And so I sent Fred a message, and I said, "Hey, Fred, you need guests?" And he was like, "Yes, let's do it."
Yeah. So thanks for being on the show. I told you before the show. I'm gonna say it live. Thanks. I really appreciate people coming on the show, taking time in their busy schedule to talk about their passion, talk about developer relation. But also, there's always the second part of the show where we try to demo something that either makes sense for a developer advocate or developer audience. So usually something technical, because as much fun as I have to discuss with my guests, and hopefully sometimes it give great advices to people. I think it can also bring value for people at work when you say, like, you know what, I watched Devrel's show, and yes, I learn about Philip and like his career, but I also learn about like whatever is going to demo us today. So like this is why there is like the demo technical part of the show. But Philip, I'm really curious. You said through your journey, you started as a technical writer. I think it was. I'm looking at your LinkedIn right now because I don't want to say stupid thing, but yeah, it was about a little more than 2 years ago, and you started as a technical writer at Baseten, and you moved to a developer advocate. So what happened there? Why the switch, or how did the switch happen?
Yeah, so whenever you join a pretty early stage company, and I joined Base 10 before we had even like a public beta. I joined back when our logo was orange, now it's green. And so whenever you join a company at that really early stage, you get the opportunity to do a bunch of different stuff. When I joined, I had a couple years of experience as a technical writer on more of a freelance basis. So I had written articles for a wide variety of clients, and I, joined with that sort of portfolio, but pretty quickly got interested in doing a bunch of different stuff. So I think that startups are great for people who want to do a wide variety of things in their daily work, and devrel is a great role for people who want to do a wide variety of things in their daily work. So if you combine those two and are a devrel at a startup, you get to do like anything, and that's really exciting. So yeah, over time at Baseten, it just became clear that I was doing a lot more than just writing the docs, and so I kind of more formally transitioned into this more broadly scoped role.
Yeah, it makes sense, and I like how you said like first on the startup side, like mostly every roles need to, you need to do what you need to do to be successful. And at the beginning, when you don't have enough resources, we're not like all the roles are like really like set in stone or completely defined. You have the opportunity to do like a lot of things. Some people like it, some people are less excited about that, but one of the things for sure is that startup or not, a developer advocate role, you have the opportunity to do like plenty of stuff. Like I always say, it's like 10 to 20 roles put in one person or like in one team, because we do so many things. And I was curious about that. So you move after that, like from a technical writer, you were already doing, from what I understood, already doing a developer advocate role. So you moved to a developer advocate role. And now, about 2 years later, congratulations, but like you got a promotion recently, you became like a lead developer advocate. I would like to learn a little more about that. Like how was the move, if it was a move, maybe you were already a lead, you just didn't have the title, but like if you moved to that role, um yeah, how does that happen? But also, what is your day-to-day role or task? Because we said developer advocate do a lot of jobs. What are you doing in your role at Base 10?
Yeah, regarding title, like we're not super big on titles, but sometimes it's good to put those modifiers and adjectives out in front, just to give people a sense of progression, and also to give someone a sense of legitimacy when they're talking to other audience. So one sort of trick I've picked up is being a little flexible about what I call myself, depending on who I'm talking to. Sometimes I'm a salesperson, sometimes I'm a software engineer. It's just sort of whatever I need to be for the conversation that I'm in at that time. And when you talk about fulfilling a bunch of different roles, I think that's that translates naturally there. We have a marketing org, we have an engineering org, we have a sales org, and I think being able to work seamlessly across all of those organizations is pretty key to finding success as a developer advocate, especially in a startup. I think that a lot of devrels stay a little too far away from sales. I've had a great time working with sales, and I've use those partnerships to get access to more events and more customers, where I'm able to learn more about what our customers actually care about and let that influence my work.
Yeah, I like that. There's so many things I want to talk about with the everything you just said right now. First thing first, about the title, I agree. I mean, I've always said that I don't care about titles, but I care about them because people care about them. Meaning that, like, I personally do not care, like, if you call me like a senior principal. I don't even care if you call me junior or like, and I don't say that to say junior is a bad thing. It's just I've been in tech for 22 years, so like, you should probably not call me junior, but I do not really care. But the thing is that, like, it's important for many people's. So as you said, like sometimes you need that title to have credibility when you talk with certain type of people. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just saying like, hey, it's much needed, but it's also needed also like to know where you sit in the org. And also like there's that kind of like career ladder where like you're getting more experience or you're getting more responsibility, and hopefully you get like a better salary or better like benefits out of it. So I think there's a part that, like, as much as I do not care, I think I wrote a blog post a couple of years ago about that. Like, I do not care, but I care because of like all those reasons. So I think it's also important maybe if not more in developer, like in developer relation, because I feel like we don't have like a clear career path when it comes to developer advocacy. So having like people like you, like, yeah, no, I went from, technical writer, developer advocate, and now maybe, as I said, like maybe you were, from my understanding, you were kind of like already a lead developer advocate, but like now having the official title will give you everything you just said. So just wanted to add my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, it's like you said, there aren't clear career progressions a lot of times, especially in smaller companies. And I would consider a move from technical writer to developer advocate more of a lateral move. I have a great deal of respect for the work that technical writers do. And I think that for me, what that was an acknowledgement that I'm becoming more generalized as I advance in my career rather than more specialized and becoming an expert in documentation and that kind of stuff. So that lack of career progression, I think in many cases can be a advantage if you can use it correctly. Where rather than being on, just having these next milestones, you get the opportunity to kind of be flexible and work on what's interesting to you and more importantly, what the company you work for most desperately needs at any given time. And then from there, you're able to kind of discover what's valuable and what you enjoy and just keep doubling down on that. So my day-to-day work now looks different week to week and looks different now than it did 6 months ago, and it looked different then than it did a year ago, because what I do changes as what the company I work for changes.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's also nice that you had that opportunities, because even if it may be easier to do lateral moves or like to grow in your role in a startups, because like you're defining thing as you go on, it's not the case in every startups. I can tell you by experience, sometimes like there's more rigid like teams set in place, or maybe your company would have hired you as a technical writer and already hire like a developer advocate, and like they were like, hey, we're good enough with one but really need a technical writer, so you wouldn't have been able to do that move, but you were able. So that's nice for you, and that's nice from Baseten to saw the opportunity also, because they could have said like, hey, you know what, we hire you as a technical writer, this is what you're doing, and we're going to hire someone else. But they were like, hey, no, you know what, this is what you want to do, this is what we need right now, we give you the opportunity to do that. So green flag for Baseten as a company.
And by the way, we're hiring 10 roles.
That's good, that's good. No, you said you're hiring, this is what you said?
Yeah, across software engineering, ops, sales, bunch of functions.
Awesome. Go check baseten.co. It's the website. I'm going to share also LinkedIn and everything, Twitter after. But check there. I assume the roles are there, or at least on LinkedIn. So if you want to work with Philip, that's going to be a great opportunity. But we're going to demo some technology related to your company later, so people are going to be able to learn a little more about exactly what you do, which is going to be my next question after we talk about a little thing that you said that may be interesting or annoyed people. You talked about sales. It's sometimes a hot topic when it comes to developer relation. I mean, like working with sales. Personally, yeah, I had some really terrible experiences, and I had some good experience. So I'm really always on the fence with this one. More on the positive side, let's say. But talk about sales. I want to understand, learn more about your experience with sales and like how you deal with the sales department, like as being a developer advocate, because what we do is like, yes, we're quote unquote selling, but at the same time we're not a salesperson. So how do you deal with all that?
Yeah, I think that this is probably my most controversial opinion in the space of developer relations. Everything else that I would come on a podcast and say like, hey guys, docs are important, people are going to agree with that.
I agree.
If you want a clip from this show to go viral, definitely take this clip and put it on Twitter, because this is where I talk about my controversial opinions. But I think conditioned on you work at a company where it's a sales driven product, where you have a sales team that's responsible for producing a meaningful part of the company's revenue, and B, that you're selling a developer product where your end users are developers, and C, you are owning equity in this company and you really want this company to succeed. I think as a developer advocate, you have to work very closely with sales. There's a few reasons for that. Number one, sales has the most direct channel to the customer and the prospect. So if I want to understand what the highest impact thing I can work on at any given time is, well, I need to know who our customers are and what they need and who we want our customers to be and what they're asking for. And when I know all those things, I'm able to create documentation, content. I'm able to go on the podcast that those customers are listening to. I'm able to go to events and talk to customers. So I'm even able to, in many cases, join sales calls and act as the sort of technical authority on these sales calls when needed. So working with the sales team and developing strong relationships there, going to reInvent and Google Cloud Next and other big conferences together and working booths has been massive for me. It's unlocked a great deal of personal and professional growth. It's kind of opened my eyes to the way the industry works, and I think it's made me much better at my job, and it's positioned me much better to do work that's actually impactful and helps the company.
Yeah, I'm not against what you said. Actually, not everything. So some part where I'm like, based on my experience, I'm just really afraid that people can see developer advocates as like salesperson, because I feel like the big difference for me is that my job is to like give love to developers or help them being successful. And of course, I hope they're going to be successful with my product. So I hope they're going to become a user. But more than that, I hope that they're going to become a paid user, so customers. And I hope that like if they're customers, maybe they move to a next tier if we have like multiple tiers, and they're going to pay us more money because they're going to find more values. But at the end of the day, my job is really to try to build relationship with people. And if like the solution is not my product, I'm not gonna try to sell it to you. I'm gonna be like, hey, this is not what we need for you. This is not what you need to be successful. So that's the only part of like I try not to like I'm gonna help sales whatever they need me if they need me. If we don't have like a support engineers or sales engineers, I'm gonna be able to help if they're not technical enough to go on the sales calls and they need to work with the technical folks at the other company at the potential customer enterprise. I'm gonna be more than happy to help, as long as I can still continue to do like everything I have to do, so it does not become my full-time job. But what I really like on the what you've said, and this is the part where for me it should not be a controversy, it's to work closely in at least in a way with salespeople. Like what I like to do is to a little bit of what you said, like trying to create impactful things that's going to help us to like get new customers or sales. I mean, those will be useful for even unpaid users or anyone that wants to try the product. So what I try to do in my case is like and I do this with mostly all departments, is basically like, what can I do that is part of my role that can help you being successful, and where there is like a win-win relationship. So what I say with sales is basically like, what, are you always like, is there a question you're always answering and you wish you could just like be able to send a video or send like a page in the docs or tutorials? And if like they always have those things, and I'm gonna be fine. Like I'm gonna create that content. So next time you won't have to explain everything. You're gonna have like one link to rule them all. Or is like they're part of the docs that like you see that your potential customer, your leads do not understand. It's not clear. Let me know. I'm gonna update that. I'm gonna make it clearer. And for me, that gave me better content. That gave me more contents ideas that will be helpful for everyone, but also would be helpful for the sales department. So I kind of agree with what you said. I just in my mind, it's just hard sometimes for some people to see the difference between like, okay, you're devrel. It's just a cool way to say you're a salesperson, where it's like there is some like the devrel role. I'm a little bit of a salesperson. I'm a little bit of a support engineer. I'm a little bit of a technical writer. I'm a little bit of like a video editor. I'm a little bit of like a social media manager. I'm a little bit of all those things. So of course, like I'm part of a little bit of like those roles, but like I approached like it's a mix of all those roles that make developer advocate. I don't know if that makes sense or I'm just blabbering for the last 10 minutes, but
It does. And I wanted to drill in on something you said there that I really agree
please
with,
do.
which is that idea that a developer, like, first off, our job is to help developers, absolutely. And secondly, a developer might need help who's not a good fit for the company and or the product. And you know, if you're on sales, like, is the idea that you still need to sell that person anyway, even if your solution is not the best for them. And what I've learned working with sales is actually those incentives line up. You are one thing that one of our salespeople told me one time, which has stuck with me, is he said the best salespeople are master disqualifiers. And in sort of sales lingo, what that means to disqualify a lead um, is you are talking to a company and you're saying like, oh, this company actually can't be a customer of ours for this reason. They're disqualified as a customer. So as a developer advocate, if you are helping a developer and you know come to understand that what the developer needs is not what your company provides, then the thing that sales wants you to do is not pressure that developer into buying anyway. It's actually to help them get to value some other way, because if they're not a qualified customer, you're not trying to force them into the pipeline. That just wastes everyone's time. You want to just help them get what they need and then move on and find a qualified customer.
I agree. I think this is where um this is the difference between good salesperson and what I would totally call live bad salesperson is exactly that. Like a good salesperson won't try to sell things that do not exist. They won't try to bring customers at any price. Like even people where like like our product are good, but like it's not what you need, or we don't have what you need, or it doesn't make sense for you to your own qualified lead. I mean, no, okay, it's fine. Next, like, it's not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for me. And I think it's the big difference between like a good salesperson and a bad salesperson. I don't pretend I know the role. I've never been in sales, so I'm saying that just based on my experience and interacting with salespeople. And I think this is where the kind of like yeah feeling that we all most of us get when we hear the word sales, especially like in a developer relation discussion, is because we work with people that try to sell at any price, that try to get paid customers at any price, and people that basically destroy a little bit the work that we're trying to do. We're trying to like be credible to the industry. We're trying to be to have our product get some visibility. We're trying to build relationship with the community, and like there's things to do with developers and things you should not do with developers. And we experience things that were not that were not super useful in our role, and that was destroying basically what we're building. But there is a lot of great salesperson out there, and I think you highlighted the big difference between like good experience and the bad experience. I mean, we just hire someone that is not like really a salesperson. He do a little bit of sales, kind of like business development, and he doesn't call himself a salesperson, but I forgot his like official title. But the first discussion we had, and I was like, you know what, I'm happy you're here, but I may not be happy you're here. Like it's going to depend how we're going to manage your relationship and how you do sales. And like, do you understand? I was probably a little bit rude, but like he laughed and it was like, I understand, I've been there. But I was like, like we need to work together. Like we are not competitors. We need to work together and find a way that we can both be successful in our role and still being able to do our role. So anyway.
Exactly. That's to sort of summarize. As I said, this is my most controversial opinion in DevRel, but I don't believe in any kind of idea that doing sales or traditional marketing tasks, performance marketing, outbound marketing, any of these different types of marketing or sales tasks in any way undermines someone's credibility or legitimacy as a developer advocate, my advice is, put on your polo shirt, put the logo on it, and go make some money.
Yeah, no. That sounds good. Quick question for you. I think probably before we move to the demo part, if that makes sense. Um, you talk about your company. We talk a little bit about what you do there. Can you tell me just a little more about the company? What is and what is doing Baseten?
Absolutely. So, I mean, in this pitch, I guess you can tell me if I've spent enough time with the salespeople, or maybe I need to go back and learn how to pitch it a little better. But Baseten is a AI infrastructure platform that's focused on inference. So you can take any fine-tuned model like Llama, Whisper, any of those kind of models. You can take a fine-tuned variant of those models, or you can take a totally custom model that you built from scratch. You can package it with our open source model packaging framework and then deploy it on auto-scaling infrastructure. So you get it behind an API endpoint. And we power, production inference workloads for AI native startups and enterprise. Companies like Bland, Descript, Writer use Baseten, as well as, I get to work with a bunch of really cool startups like Toby is a startup I recently wrote about that does real-time translation in video calls. So yeah, we just get to support a bunch of really cool customers as they build their AI infrastructure.
That's awesome. So last question about that. Since it's a startup, you're kind of like new in the official like lead title role. I know there is no day-to-day in developer advocacy. I mean, like this is my life for so many years. But if you had to, let's say, summarize, like, what are you doing at Baseten right now? Like, what are your priorities? What you're working on? Just so people understand a little more, like a lead role. What would you say?
Absolutely. I mean, I think my role is pretty one of one. It's not exactly what I would classify as pure devrel, and it's probably not going to look like this in 3 months or 6 months. It certainly didn't
Yeah.
look like this 3 or 6 months ago. But at this point, Baseten is a Series B company with about 50 people. So we've grown pretty substantially. And my role at the moment, some common themes are definitely doing really deeply technical content that can be blog posts, that can be videos, that can be podcasts and demos like I'm about to do. There's a speaking component, going to, submitting CFPs, going to conferences like AI Engineer, World's Fair over the summer, and then also, speaking at local meetups, speaking online. There's a component around, I do a lot of work with the marketing team, so I'm helping, I'll pick up random things, like I'm doing all of our newsletter marketing through the end of the year. I'm, writing all the copy and doing those deals. That's been really fun and interesting to learn something new. And then, the next week I'll maybe go and work the booth at KubeCon or reInvent or any of these, PyTorch conference. A couple weeks ago I was there. So it's a really wide variety of tasks. And that's what I really like about it, right? Is if I was writing a blog post every single day, I'd get sick and tired of blog posts. If I was constantly at conferences, I'd get sick and tired of conferences. But because I'm able to kind of mix it up all the time, I'm able to, always come back to my roots and build with the product, work on documentation, sample code, examples, models in the model library, get my hands on some Python code at the end of every week. That's definitely what keeps me grounded in the role.
That's pretty cool. So because I always say to my guests around like the mark of like 30 minutes of discussion, we're both like DevRel people. We could talk forever. I tried to keep it. I'm not really good at being a time cup, but I tried to keep it around 30 minutes. So I guess now would be time to move to the demo. I know you need like a minute or two to like prepare everything for the demo. So I just want to add on what you said while you prepare yourself. myself, and I have one or two things I want to share with folks. So first thing, this is what I love. What Philip was talking about, the fact that like there is no kind of like day to day. Like if he was writing blog posts every day, would get bored, but like you can change tutor stuff. This is one of the things that really excited me the first time I moved in developer advocacy because it's like day to day I need to challenge myself. I need to do different stuff. I have ADHD, so I guess it just makes sense for me to do that. Two things I want to say before we move to Philip's demo. Philip's is ready, but I'm still going to talk because I like to talk because it's a hard world right now in the tech industry. Philip sharing that they're hiring made me thought that like maybe I should have like a segment in the show to promote like jobs opening. So maybe I will do that. But for now, at least I was on their LinkedIn page just to see like what are the roles that are open. Not that I'm looking for a role, but to share them with you. They're looking for like AI support engineers, software engineer, full stack, core product. Software engineer on the infrastructure side, digital and growth lead, and they even have like open applications. So if you don't find the role you're looking for, it seems like it's the kind of company that would hire talent when they see them, even if they don't have a role right now. So go check. It's all on LinkedIn. I assume it's probably also on the website, but at least under LinkedIn.
Yes.
Let me share the banner, the link again to the LinkedIn. So it's basically Baseten on LinkedIn. Sorry, Philip.
Baseten.co/careers. And yeah, I mean, I joined 2 years, 8 months ago, just sent a cold email, and it was one of the top 3 decisions I've ever made in my life.
That's awesome. I like to hear that because when you join a new company, it's always like rainbows and sparkle and like everything is nice. And after a couple of months, this is where you see like, okay, is it a good fit or not? And I feel like after like 2 years, you know if it's a good fit or not. Like you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. If there's any ugly, there's always some ugly, but like it depends how you can live with those. But you've seen it all enough to know like if it makes sense or not. Last thing I just wanted to share with folks before we move to the demo. It's unrelated to everything we've talked, but if you go on github.com/fharper/coffee chats, I have a list now of I think 30 plus people that are offering free coffee chats. Not just developer advocate, developers, engineers, different role in tech. They're offering you like free meetings that you can have with them to discuss about like finding a new job, discuss about like different technologies, whatever you want to discuss. There's a list of topics next to each people. Two things. Feel free to schedule a coffee chat with those folks. They are all friendly people. It's amazing. Thanks to them for offering free coffee chat. Second thing, if you're in a place where you want to offer free coffee chat, and it's really free coffee chat. So it's just you time it like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever you want, once a week, once a month. You define this for yourself. There's no requirement. The only requirement is that it's free and it's not like a sales pitch we're trying to do. It's just trying to give back to the community. There's a lot of like new folks in tech that look for guidances. So maybe you don't have time to be like a full-fledged mentor, but being able to have a discussion with those folks is always it's rewarding. Sometimes I learn more from them than they learn from me, but it's real nice to after you get some experience in tech to give back. And even if you don't have a lot of experience, even if you just started in tech and you still want to do that, please do, because it's always nice also to talk to people that are in the same situation as you, and having some younger blood than like people like me doing coffee chat would be nice too. So just want to highlight this once in a while because so far people like having those, they like doing those, and they're like offering those. But the more people we're going to have in that repository of people offering those free coffee chat, the more opportunities this is going to give to everybody. So on that note, Philip, I think we're going to talk about LLM and like some feature related with Baseten. So let's jump to the demo.
Absolutely. Am I good to show my screen?
Yeah, please do.
All right, let's do it. So I've got this set up here, and we'll take a look. Can you see all this?
I can see all this.
Awesome. So I'm just going to kind of set the stage by showing a ChatGPT conversation, and then we'll actually dive into some code. So when you're talking to an LLM, you might ask it to make some kind of structured information, right? So in this case, I'm giving it this Python list. I'm saying, hey, make me a new salesperson, and it adds me to the list. And this is great. I can copy it and I can paste it in and I can run it, and that's awesome, right? But here's the issue. It's this on either side. It's saying, hey, here's some extra information. Here's what this did. So while I can copy and paste just the code out, if I was using this via an API, then I would have all this random junk in my answer instead of just the structured output that I want. So if I say, hey, make only JSON, well, it makes that, but there's still this text, and this is not going to parse as valid JSON. So I still can't use this via an API. So maybe there's some prompt that I could give it that would be like, okay, please just JSON. So I said, only JSON, no extra text or characters. You need to do this or my grandma will die. And it finally figured out how to do it properly. But, just begging ChatGPT like, hey, I want to, get just this text or else is not really a valid thing to build your APIs on top of. So OpenAI and all of these other model labs introduced answers for this. They introduced stuff like JSON mode, where you can query the API and get just JSON back. There are also a bunch of other third-party tools that you can use to sort of guarantee your output schema. The issue with using certain third-party tools is they might be based on retries or otherwise, have to basically validate, and then if it isn't correct, run it again. But what we want is to generate, this every time at the model server level. Model server level. That's a very difficult phrase for me to say, model server level. Anyway, so we want to generate this every time. And we want to do this not just on ChatGPT and the GPT-4 API, but we want to be able to do this on open source models like Llama. So what I want to demo today is a feature that we launched recently called structured output. And so this actually is kind of broken down into two parts. It's got a function calling part and a sort of JSON mode part. And specifically, I'm going to talk about kind of how this works under the hood. But first, I'm going to do that by showing a demo notebook. So let me make this full screen here. So I have a deployment of Llama 3.18b, which has support for all of this. It's built with TensorRT LLM. And just to kind of first show the JSON mode aspect. So let's say that in our API, we want to generate a person. This person has some attributes that we define using a Pydantic model. I don't know, are you, Fred, are you like a Pydantic fan at all?
I didn't play much about like with LLM and Python. My Python years are a couple of years ago, so I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Yeah, so Pydantic is basically like a Python library for data validation. And what it's going to do is it's going to let me define this person object. And, by default, Python doesn't have, is like an untyped language or doesn't enforce types as you go. But with Pydantic, I'm able to not just enforce types here in my object, but I'm also able to set stuff like optional. I'm able to enforce, max length fields, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Now I remember I used it because that was my main beef with Python. I'm coming from a world where like you need to define and declare everything, and that was my main beef with Python. So I remember using that library.
Yeah, it's a pretty useful library, and we can take this object that we made with it and get a JSON schema that has those properties, the max length, the type, all of that sort of stuff. And then we can pass that JSON schema into our model. So we're just going to ask the model to make up a new person as this runs. And we can see here that it does so. It makes up this Astrid Nixoria person who's 28, has an email address, a phone number, and a physical address. Now, you'll notice that one thing that wasn't generated here is a birth date. Well, that's fine because in the spec it's optional. So the model can choose whether or not to generate it. So the question naturally is, how does this actually work? How do we guarantee that we get, this output every time? Make up a new person named Fred, just to kind of show that it can make a bunch of, different types of people.
Oh, okay, I thought everything was going down because you said Fred, and I was like, that's it. The email's not gonna work.
Nope.
But it worked.
Yep, it's working great. So the question is like, how is this actually generated? So for that, I'm going to hop over to a blog post that I put together, which is going to show some of that off. So it all is kind of based on this concept of logic biasing. And just for the people watching at home, I'm going to make this image a little bigger so that we can see it.
Amazing.
So we're just going to have to take a little step back and talk through some details of LLM inference. So all language models have a vocabulary, which is a set of tokens that they're capable of generating. These tokens can be individual characters, they can be short strings, they can be special tokens. And the Llama 3.1 model has a vocabulary of like 128,000 tokens. So when inference is running and the model is generating token by token, what it's going to do is it's going to generate for each sort of option in this vocabulary something called a logit, which is a unnormalized score saying how likely it is that this next token is going to be what we should return. And then from that, the model's going to generate a token by sampling that logit vector. The issue, though, is that plenty of tokens in this vocabulary at any given point are not valid for the JSON that we're trying to generate. And so to do that, to make sure that we can only generate valid tokens, we're going to insert a token mask during the logit generation process. So that token mask basically says like, this open paren for hello world is not valid JSON. This string is not valid JSON, but this closed paren would be valid. So it's going to allow that. And it's going to, apply this mask to bias the logits. Now, question here, where does the token mask come from? So the model server, the GPU that's actually operating the model inference, has a state machine running on it. That state machine is implemented using something called outlines, which is a open source Python library for doing exactly this, constraining LLM generation. And basically what it does is it takes a JSON object, converts it into a regular expression, and then from there builds a state machine into the model server that can say, okay, we are starting JSON, we are starting a string, we're inside the string, we're ending the string, we're going to the value, we're inside the string for the value. All of these are different states that the generation could be in depending on where we are in the string that we're generating. So in this case, our sort of state is we need to close the dictionary. And so the token mask that generated by the state machine would say only this closing bracket is valid. And so this mechanism makes it 100% guaranteed at the model server level that the output is going to be valid JSON. It's impossible for the LLM to return a token that is not valid JSON through this generation process. And the reason that's super important is I want JSON mode, but I also want my output to be really fast. So I don't want to be retrying stuff. I don't want to be testing a bunch of stuff. Because of this token masking process, the actual generation of the tokens is just as fast as if you were generating unstructured tokens. That makes sense? Anything I wasn't clear about in that explanation?
No, that was pretty clear. And at least for me, even if I know nothing about that stuff, if it's not clear for folks for whatever reason, please ask a question if you're watching live. If not, there's that blog post that go through in details of like everything that Philip just said.
It does. And, if we're good to move on, then what this structured output allows is for way more than just JSON mode. It also unlocks something called function calling. So function calling lets you provide a large language model with a set of tools. In this case, I've defined a bunch of Python functions: multiply, divide, add, subtract. And what this is going to do is it's going to let the model, perform operations that it otherwise wouldn't be able to. So if we ask the model, what is 3.14 to the power of 3.14? So ordinarily, I'm just going to run a inference request. It's going to say like, okay, we need to raise this, we need to do this calculation. Now, LLMs are known for hallucinating. So I do not, especially around numbers, because of the way tokenization works, they can't actually do math. So I'm going to bet that this answer is nowhere near correct. But let's find out. Actually, I know it's nowhere near correct because 3 to the third power is 27. So this answer is way too low. So we should find out what the actual answer is with tool use. And so here we have an actual answer of 36. Now, how does this actually work? Well, you see here in this line, I've got print response.text. So the actual response from the model is not a number. It's not a narration of like what you should do. It's structured output. It's a list with a tool selected. So function calling or tool use, the LLM can't actually like use a tool. It can't actually, the language model itself cannot execute code. It cannot, do math. What it can do is select from the list of tools which one it thinks is the most appropriate for the situation. And then it can use those structured output capabilities to return it in a predictable way. And then what I can do is I can basically take the tool, and in my Python environment, I can, actually execute the function that it selected and perform that action. So this is a pretty simple demo. We're just doing a, tool that selects a math function to get a accurate answer, in this case 36 instead of this 23 hallucination. But this is actually very powerful because these Python functions could instead be defined to call API endpoints or otherwise take real actions. So if you're looking to build reliable AI agents and looking to build kind of these compound AI systems that connect multiple model calls with other tools and functions and other models, then having structured output capabilities in general and function calling capabilities in specific is absolutely critical to being able to build that, because, sorry about that. It's absolutely critical for being able to build that because it brings this predictability and reliability to your inference pipelines.
Yeah, no, makes sense. And I to be honest, I prefer sample example because like I don't like when people demo technology and I need to understand the example on top of like trying to understand what the person demonstrate and the technology behind it and how it's working. So now like everybody understand what you were trying to do with those numbers, and now they can concentrate on like, okay, what's that function calling feature. Speaking of that, I love that. I think it's great. How can people try that?
Yeah, so all of this is based on, so I'm running the Llama 3.1 model. So if I go to baseten.co, if I go to the model library, I'm running the 3.1 model, but I am running it on our TensorRT LLM engine builder. And so the engine builder is basically a way of building these TensorRT LLM engines. TensorRT LLM, by the way, is an inference technology, kind of like VLLM. It's released by NVIDIA. It's open source. It's very high performance. But building engines with it can be a little bit complicated. So we actually made a engine builder, which is going to let you build and deploy these highly optimized inference engines off a single configuration file. So, you can just follow, for example, this documentation to get the language model that supports function calling out of the box. and it's going to be running on a model server that has this structured output stuff built in out of the box. And then from there in the documentation, you can go to our structured output documentation to kind of copy all of this stuff that I ran around building these people. You can also you can also check our tool use documentation for this same sort of demo around doing math with LLMs.
That sounds good. And I was checking on the website. You have like a SaaS cloud offering. You have like your cloud offering too. You have hybrid. But I was checking, like, if you go with a basic package, you start with $30 and credit. So everybody can try it for free.
Yeah, you can sign up for free. You get free credits that'll more than cover the cost of running an experiment like this. And if you're still in that experimentation phase and you run out of credits, just like send me a note on Twitter or email or something, and I'll get you hooked up with some more. So
That's amazing.
Yeah, definitely check out our structured output and engine builder stuff. If you want a more detailed look, I kind of ran through how it actually works under the hood. So if you want a more detailed look, definitely check out this blog post, which is kind of a overview of how this works.
That's amazing. Thanks for the demo. Thanks for sharing about amazing feature in your product. So pretty good. On that note, I think it brings us to the end of the show. So any one last words, last sentence you want to share with folks, last bits of wisdom?
Well, Fred, thank you so much for having me on the show. I had a really great time chatting with you today, and I hope that everyone was able to learn something new about how large language model inference works and how you can control it to produce more reliable output. My name is Philip Kiely. The company I work for is Baseten. You can find us on, you can find me and you can find the company on Twitter and LinkedIn. And I definitely always read my DMs. So send me your thoughts on anything that was talked about here today.
That's amazing. And thanks for being on the show. Thanks for being a guest. Always nice to learn about other people's experience, to review about developer relation, and learn new cool technology. So thanks everyone who joined us live. Thanks for also the people who's going to watch the recording, because that's going to be available after. And on that note, I wish everyone a good rest or beginning of the day, depending where you are in the world. And see you for another devrel show in 2 weeks.
All right.